But today, we are going to have, as you just met, Eric Winter, and Holly's going to help facilitate this as well. And we are going to be digging in to talk about Eric's product growth framework. And I'm going to let him tell you all about that. If you want to jump over to our website at productcoffee.com/resources, you can find some more information about Eric and some resources for today's talk. So with that, I'm going to welcome our guest, Eric Winter. Welcome, Eric. Welcome back to Product Coffee. And we are ready to let you take it away and talk about the product growth framework.
Oh, good. The screen shows the signal right now.
Oh, let me need to make you a co-host. One moment.
Yeah, maybe while you're doing that, just to kind of connect the dots. So in true product fashion, I was in the session last week, and very interesting to see the dialogue between everyone. And in an effort to solve problems, I thought, wow, this might be a good opportunity to introduce this professional growth framework that we've kind of developed over the years. It was really born out of my time at Target. For the Target's the mass retailer, many of you probably have the app on their phone. While I was at Target, I headed up the mobile experience. And so I had those apps under my umbrella. But more importantly, Target's known for being one of the best places to work. And it's no surprise, they over-index on career development, professional development. And they've won tons of awards for it. There are a lot of magazines. So I get to learn a lot through that process. What was interesting is I moved from Target to work for more pure play software companies, especially the small to mid cap, 1,000 employees and under. There wasn't any programs or efforts or frameworks for these organizations to use to grow their people. They just didn't have the resources and not insured enough to have these type of capabilities. And so the problem is trying to solve what this is, as many of you know, product managers are hard to keep, and they want to grow their careers, they want to move, experience different things, constantly be challenged. And so this was an attempt to help create some stickiness with the organization and help with that product manager retention. It also applies to user experience designers as well, to keep them in, but at the same time, to keep them in, provide a meaningful career path, meaningful growth for the product managers. And so it's kind of a help out the organization and help out the team member, the product manager. So that kind of formed into this product management framework I've rolled out now at on company number 3. That it seems to be getting a lot of traction. I've got a lot of good feedback from product managers themselves. One gentleman who's actually in the case study here later, he was about to leave. He said, "Hey, Eric, I see I now have a career path here. I can try a bunch of different things, grow my career, and that's really helped me stay when I was looking for a job." So that was kind of reaffirming that, that it's working, it's resonating. So with that here, let me just share my screen and we'll get rolling.
Talk fast, Eric.
All right, just confirm we're in presentation mode. We good? All right. So like I said, this has been kind of rolled out. I thought it might be a good way to connect the dots from what happened at the session last week, maybe put some things into practice and do that self-assessment. So what is this all about? So this is really about growing in your craft. We think of the product management skill sets, growing in your domain. So where do you have the knowledge expertise in your industry? And then it's growing your value to the organization. So I see growing your career, it's increasing your value to the organization. And value is really increased by building both product management skills and domain knowledge and bringing those two things together. Product management skills, these are new skills you gain from training, coaching, and applying them on the job. This framework uses the 10-20-70 learning model best practices. You're familiar with that. 10% you learn from formal training, like a class. 20% is through coaching, and then the other 70% is actually on the job training, where you can actually apply those skills to the things that you're doing every day. And that's one of the cool things about this framework is a lot of people look at professional growth, career development, like, oh, it's all this homework, I got to do this extra stuff on nights and weekends. Whereas really the 10-20-70 model really takes 70% of that time, even 90%, and applies it to your daily work. And it's really satisfying, at least for those that are trying to do this extra things, that you can integrate it into your daily work and still grow and learn. The domain knowledge is just gaining, increasing more knowledge across the organization, your portfolio of products, if it's more than one, your customers, your industry. So you become that subject matter expert on your product within the domain. All that adds value as you're able to connect the dots across the organization, across the marketplace, where you can then find more opportunities for the company to grow. And then the last piece here is measuring your value regularly, quarterly, preferred, annually at minimum. All right, let's just jump into the methodology here. I'm going to move a little bit quickly because there's a lot of content to cover, but we can certainly ask questions at the end or follow up after. So the approach here is really assessing capabilities. So when I say capabilities, we're talking about those product management skills and domain knowledge. So the methodology itself, pretty simple, just level 0, no experience, level 1. I've found it training, I maybe applied it once, but I still have little knowledge. Level 2, applied a few times, moderate knowledge. Level 3, I've done this a lot. I probably could be considered a subject matter expert. And 4 is you're at the top of your game, you coach on it, you speak on it, you maybe offer best practices, etc. But the important piece is here is the bottom. And one is taking an inventory of these skill sets and doing a self-assessment and scoring yourself on the 0 to 4 spectrum to understand where do you sit in the set of product management skills, and to get his or her perspective on where you land with these particular skills as well. And then you try and find that gap and have a conversation. It's less about the 1, 2, and 3. It's more about calibrating on, hey, where's a focus area where you might have an area to grow. And we get into knowledge and skills. I'll just do a shout out here to where for some credibility on these is I really did a lot of research over the years with some of the more founding fathers of product, if you will, and looked at how they view product management skills. And so this is sort of a culmination of that. And it boils down to kind of these 3 buckets: product, process, and people. And you can see here, product is a lot about the user and customer knowledge, the industry knowledge, product itself. Process is a lot of things we do talk about here in product copy, product discovery, product delivery. And then there's the people skills. This is really important too. I'll zoom in on leadership skills in particular. Is how many product managers aren't formally have direct reports. They're expected to lead through other means, and not through direct reports, and evangelize on their products. So those are the three knowledge and skill areas that you take an inventory to the score. Now, when you go into actually understanding, like, well, what does it mean if I have product discovery techniques? Sort of one example into this is each of these buckets have a series of questions, 4 to 6 questions each. And so when we dig into the process of product discovery, there's a handful of questions here. We'll do an exercise towards the end that gets into this a little bit more. But the point is, all right, how do I know if I'm good at product discovery? What does that mean? It's a handful of questions you can ask yourself and say, oh, yes, I do this, I do this, I do this. Okay, I might give myself a 3 or a 4 on this. And as a leader, we'll do the same. Might give you the same score or something different. But again, it's to help drive conversation on hardcore product management skills. There's more on
Jump in here,
explore.
Eric, and just say that when we were talking through this, I really loved that in your deck, which we're going to share with the group later, right? You've got this broken out for each of those 3 buckets. So just mentally putting your head on those buckets, it's great. But I think when you try and do some self-assessment on your own, it's like we get stuck right on what are the questions we're really asking ourselves, or what would good look like. And I think this really helps drive you through that process when I read some of these. So I really think that these slides are great content. Well, I know we're breezing past it now, but just guys, the answers are here. It's great.
Thanks for that highlighting.
Yeah.
All right. Now, once you've done, once you understood the skills, the questions, there's a template that you can use then to start scoring yourself. And just to kind of outline what this is you can see on the left, product, process, and people, and in the different skill categories within that, and those questions basically asked. There's a target rating. So as we'll get into a moment, typically companies have a career path, associate product manager, senior product manager, et cetera. It's intended to outline, all right, where's my target? And for that target, what's that rating I'm trying to get to? And you have a leader rating, a self rating, and then if possible, you're doing a peer rating. Then you understand, like, where is that gap? And where the biggest gap is would suggest a focus area that you may want to pick up and put into your growth plan. All right, now just a little bit of a career path. This is a typical organization topography for product management. We're going to see here starting out associate product senior. And then at some point in your career, you probably have to decide, all right, do I want to head down the track where I become more of a people leader and head into a director of product, VP, and eventually chief product officer? Or am I more cut for being a hyper expert in my domain or in my craft, where I would head down a principal product manager? And I spent a lot of time in the medical space, so fellow product manager has been resonating with some of the more recent companies I've been working with. But it really helps you set your path. So then when you set those target scores for a particular skill, they're aligned to your career path. All right, a little bit of an eye chart here, but it's more of the show, like the concept of taking something subjective when we talk about skills and career development and trying to grow into something more objective. What does it mean if I'm a product manager and I want to move to a senior product manager? I'm a senior product manager, I'm director of product management. This table really starts to set the foundation for making it more objective and evaluating where you are in your journey in those skills and domain knowledge to where you need to be for the particular levels. So for example, if I'm a product manager, I might have lower scores, if you will, on that 0 to 4 on some of the skills, but that's sort of expected where you are in your career. So if I have, 1 or 2 of the product skills that nail and others that don't. But when I move to a senior product manager, I'm expected to have more or higher level scores to meet the requirements of that role. And so this is just to kind of help understand those scores and your competencies as you try and move up. Now, as an organization, these are mapped back to typically the job description, the job qualifications. And it's not a check the box exercise. It's really about, hey, look, I've been moving. This is where I stand with my current capabilities based on where I'm going. I'm close to the next role. That's when you start having a conversation with your leader. You start positioning yourself like that you could be ready, or if your leader's ahead of the game, they've already done this, and I'm starting to think about, like, hey, Hallie's getting really close to becoming director of product. So let's start having those conversations. What are those little things that we might need to close to really get you to that next level?
Speaking of that, I'll jump in here, Eric, while you're transitioning, to the next thing and say, I think it's super helpful for exactly that reason. When we were looking at this, I was thinking, I know what, 5 years ago, Holly or something would have done with this. I've been like, and this is how I'm showing you that I have done all the boxes, and you should make me grand high poobah of all things product, because clearly I have met all of the criteria. Challenge that. Right.
It's something subjective and typically moves into something that's much more pragmatic. All right, so now that you've done the inventory, you've assessed your skills, you've scored yourself, and if you happen to be doing it at your company, you've had a conversation with your manager to understand their perspective, call any blind spots you might have. Now it's time to move into actually putting this into action. So the next 2 slides really talk about that plan and then being able to sort of track against that plan. All right, so this is a Excel spreadsheet screenshot, but just to sort of orientate you, top left, current role, target role. I want to be really crisp on where you're at today and what you're targeting. You don't want any assumptions that if you want to be a people leader, you want to head down the director path versus more of an individual contributor expert, paper product launcher or something. You have that there. This is a short narrative of the summary, but the meat of this is towards the bottom, growth plan. This is based on building out, I used to do this quarterly. It tended to be a little aggressive. And so I found over time that having a semester plan twice a year seems to work out much better. And the idea here is by the time you take a class, you get some coaching, you're able to apply it at work. That doesn't happen in 3 months. It's more of a 6-month process or longer. And so you can see here for the year, there's a first half and a second half, and then you get into the following year. Now, focusing your attention over to the left. Now, the important thing is when putting together a plan is really understanding your strengths that you have today, so you can leverage those as you take on new things, because it can cause some anxiety. I don't want to say scary, but when you're stepping into trying something new, maybe it's a stretch part of your goal that you're going to try, it's good to know what you have to fall back on to ensure that you're going to be successful. So it's important to call out those leverages that you're going to, those strengths that you're going to lean on as you try some new stuff. Then you get into the skilled growth area. These are the things that came out of the exercise earlier. What are those 1, 2, no more than 3 things that you want to focus on over the next year, maybe year and a half, to grow into the next role? And the same with domain growth. So you might be focusing on skills first half of the year, or maybe in the next year, and you want to stay in your same domain, well, it's still your safe zone, or you might want to move into a new domain if that's where the focus less than the skills. If you remember back at the beginning, the product, it's that nice combination of the traditional product management skills, but then also that domain knowledge that really brings your value to the organization. And we all know value equals compensation. So now, the next section here, training, coaching, on-the-job application. As I mentioned earlier, it follows that learning model best practice of 10%, 20%, 70%. So 10% around training, 20% around coaching, 70% around the on-the-job application. So training, again, are whether it's articles you read, events you go to, conferences, training courses that are put on by maybe a third party. Those are all really good examples of things that you would do for more than formal training. And the coaching is really about not necessarily your leader, but who in the organization are perhaps subject matter experts on something that you're trying to learn or experience you're trying to gain that you can pair up with. You need the sounding board, get tips and tricks as you're trying to apply what you just learned through maybe formal training. And then again, the on-the-job piece of it is this is where I think the beauty of it. Again, I'm back to like, oh, I don't have this extra homework to get promoted. This is really about looking at your roadmap and the work that you have in front of you and working with your leadership to where you can integrate these things that you want to learn into the everyday work that you're doing. So then when either your product gets launched or you release a big new feature set, you can look back and see where you've applied those particular skills. Now, in this particular example,
Eric, I would just add to that, just, as a personal attestation, the folks that know me know that, I led a pretty big product management organization and team over at NCR, which is a pretty big company. And something like this is just incredible to have your team using. Like, I'm like, why didn't we talk about this a while ago, Eric, right? Because every company pretends to have a thing, right, for that conversation at the end of the year and wants to act like they care about their company's growth and, tells you have to have a plan, but it's always this awkward conversation between the manager and the employee, right? You almost feel like you're both pushing the other in a way that's just not necessarily helpful. My employees I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Where do you want to grow in? Where do you want to be when you grow up, right? And it's like all the awkwardness trying to have that conversation so I can try to basically drive to what you're putting here on what are the things I can task you with or give you or pull into your frame that will help you grow the things that you need to grow just to make the steps to where you want to get to. And so I think all of this, right, the self-assessment is so critical. But having this, if we all were doing this for ourselves, which we should, right, we should treat ourselves like a product and have a roadmap for where we're going in life, probably not just in our careers. But if you have this at the ready, I think, what springing in my head when you're just talking was using this for those types of conversations, right? Not just, it can help you build for that next role, which might be in a different company, and be thinking about, oh, maybe I thought I wanted to get into, leadership and product, but maybe I really want to be a fellow. But then it also can help you really have more effective conversations where you are right now. Like we start doing this, the end of the year is a ways away, right? We could be really ready to do something big right now. Sorry.
Yes, thanks for that extra context. It's exactly true. So just to kind of help with the exercise we're about to get into, I'll just want to walk through this this team member, Andy. So currently senior product manager. He had a part role of principal product manager. You know, he was really good at team collaboration. He understood the user, understood the customer, really understood the product. So been around the company for a long time, but never really formally trained or been able to apply modern product management best practices. So his focus area was product strategy and discovery, data knowledge. So think about web analytics or product analytics, and then stakeholder evangelism skills, selling your ideas, evangelizing throughout the organization, getting people excited. Very, very nuanced skill, something very important to a product manager. So for him, he used to get some training on product strategy and get some training on doing product strategy discovery. So one of the things he signed up for was the Silicon Valley product group, Marty Kagan and crew, the Inspired training. And he was going to then build on product analytics through meetups and webinars that you know, some of the vendors are putting on. But he's really just kind of put together a nice plan of some actually expensive training balanced with some free stuff throughout the year to help with the budgets. And then coaching, I took on myself coaching on product strategy, formulation, and planning. And then for coaching on research, myself, but then our UX manager is excellent at research. So he was able to pair up with her to learn some more coaching best practices to research. And then another gentleman in the group, Eric K, was really good at goal setting and using the North Star framework. So he partnered with him. So you can see it's a blend of people throughout their organization that you can get coaching and mentoring from when you're learning these new skills. And then for the on-the-job application, this was actually creating a new product. And so he was able to apply the training, get the coaching, and he's building up a strategy for launching this new product from soup to nuts. So just kind of a little quick example of how that played out in real life. All right, so last piece here is progress tracking. Now, you know, as good product managers, we like to know how our product's performing. In this case, the product is ourselves. So this kind of goes back to that chart you saw earlier with the product skill groups in the domain, the questions or the different areas you should say that have the questions in them, your current level, your target level for those skills, and then what's the gap look like? And over time, these blank spots start to fill in with like, okay, now I'm starting to meet these. And it's not so much the score itself and how big the gap is. It's really about, hey, look, you nailed user and customer knowledge, Andy. So let's start focusing your time on data knowledge and maybe something else. Help close some of these gaps that haven't been met yet. It's great that you have all these skills in these particular areas and you're considered a 3 or 4. Perfect. But take your extra energy and time and let's be really formal about picking and choosing where to apply those skills so you can start closing the gap on some of these others to really move into that next level. All right. So that wraps up sort of the lecture part of this of the presentation. So let's Hallie, do you want to based on time, we have talk about the skill assessment and do a mini plan here.
Absolutely, happy to. And just an FYI, I think the sun is playing a cruel joke on you and you've moved over into the dark side. So you're like, we can see you from like the neck down, just heads up or head missing. Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, cool. All right. So I think what we want to do, and Eric, did you have the template so we can pull that up for the group? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Yep. No, that's, yeah, we want that slide. Yeah. So what I want to just walk through is let's just do one, right? Everything's always crystallized for me the minute I do a thing. And so, you know, in my head, I kind of had to go through one of these for myself just to even really understand what Eric was doing to appreciate the full value of that. So whether you want to do this for yourself right now, or we could just pick somebody and do it for them. So the process one was a really good box. So when you look at these questions, right, does the person that you're evaluating have that strong understanding of the product risks and how to have a plan or have thoughts on how to address each of them, right? So if I was doing this for made up person on my team, Bob's always the one to blame. Does Bob have a good understanding of that, right? And I'm going to give him a number in that ranking. Does he or she understand how to tackle the risks up front before engineers are asked to build? Do they know how to solve the problems collaboratively? Does he focus on outcomes? Does he understand and utilize both qualitative and quantitative techniques? Or, you know, and this is a real thing, guys, like, right, we talk about imposter syndrome, but we also often are, at least for myself, but I think often guilty of, we don't know a thing. We know a thing intrinsically, but we don't know a thing. A number of times I've said qualitative and quantitative and watched someone's eyes glaze over because I realized they don't actually know the difference between those two words. They might know these things. They may actually be doing it and putting it in practice, but they don't know those words, right? So really, you know, these are all important points, but, you know, and give it a score. So let's just go ahead and give Bob a 3 on that. Really good at the discovery part. Really understands that. And I'm gonna write this down for myself so we can go back to the sheet. And then product optimization technique. So once a product or new capability is live and in production, we all know those worlds, right? Does the product manager know how to utilize optimization techniques to rapidly improve and refine his or her product? And this can be where you see, you know, that differentiation. Sometimes we're really good at that discovery side, or we're not. But maybe we're really good once we get into these other pieces, right? If something's more defined, we're really good at helping implement it, but not good at coming up with what it is, or vice versa. So we're going to go ahead and say that here, Bob's falling a little short. Bob's kind of, you know, down at the 1. Product delivery techniques. While his primary responsibility is discover, she still has an important supporting role to play in delivery. Right? I think we all agree with that. Does Bob understand his responsibilities to the engineer and to product marketing? So we're going to give Bob a good solid, what do you think, Eric? 2 here?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then a note for myself. And then development process. So does Bob have a solid understanding of the broader product development process, including discovery and delivery, as well as his administrative responsibilities as the team's product owner? So this could be another one, right, that becomes a big one to dive into for yourself or for, you know, the teammate if you're on the leadership side doing an assessment or peer assessment, because sometimes they're good at a thing, they're not good at communicating a thing, and kind of that tying it all back together so people then think they're not doing your job, or they're not doing their job. So I think that really, you know, maybe even asking yourself some sub questions around that. If you find yourself struggling in that area, kind of dive into where's the ball dropping, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and say Bob's really good at working the plan. Bob's really not good at representing how he's working the plan. So I'm going to give Bob a very sad 1 on this as well.
Bob looks to throw it over the wall of the engineering team.
Exactly. He has great ideas and thoughts, but maybe they're not getting to JIRA or the board or wherever the team is organized, right? So, you know, this is kind of all over the place. There's sticky notes all over his desk. We won't talk about my desk.
Take 5 minutes to kind of score themselves on this, and then we'll move on to the planning slide.
Yep, exactly. We use Bob just to make it fun for the conversation, but hopefully in the background, you're looking at this and kind of doing this for yourself. And if anyone wants to share their example,
once you score yourself, we'll hop into a plan.
I absolutely know that my good friend Jim is going to be willing to share his, because we all know that they're all just 1s. So it's going to be really easy to just throw that up there, Jim, and just walk it through. Figure out how we're going to help you grow better.
Sorry, me? I'm doing a self-rating here. Is that the goal?
Yes. Ask yourself these questions and score yourself. And that is exactly why I picked on you, because I just figured you may not be really paying attention.
Is this like a magic trick where I hold the numbers in my mind and you guess them, or do I tell you what they are?
No, you just, jot them down and then you can tell us what they are in a moment.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. So now I'll tell you as I go along. So product
Go ahead.
discovery techniques. I would, you know me, I would give myself a 3.5. This is not granular enough. Let's say 3. I attempt to coach my team on those, but maybe not with as much authority as I should have. So let's call it a 3. Optimization techniques, I would say, is a 2. So I've done that a few times, but not as much as others in the group, certainly. Let's see, product delivery. Oh, yeah. That's a 4, right? That's keeping your team fed, right? Is part of that, and then making sure that the product marketing folks know what's coming and everybody's set up in order to be successful in delivering and then launching. So yeah, I'm definitely one of my strong points. And then let's see, product development. Let's call that let's go with a 2. I'm a hard grader sometimes.
We can always be hard on ourselves. And sometimes,
Exactly.
being very truthful there is good.
Yeah.
We don't have beer drinking on here though, so if we added that in, your
If we
average
added
would
a
go up
5th
quite
one,
a bit.
that would be a 5 on that one.
All right. So Eric, can you take us to where we put that into the template to see what Jim needs to do to be even more awesome than he is now?
Yeah. So I think, all right, this is the growth plan, the same template before, but just quickly flip back. So we think of things that Jim's done well and where he might have a gap. So product optimization technique, scored himself a little bit lower there. And then product development process. So what we do here then is start building out. All right. So growth areas, product optimization, product delivery. Now, let's talk about some training that Jim could do as it relates to that. So maybe one of the things is for product delivery, think about perhaps certified product owner. Not necessarily a product management type focus, but that product owner role becomes really important. So that might be those are typically 2 days, they're very inexpensive. But it just gives you a good sense of your role as a product owner and managing that backlog and working through product delivery. So that could be a training course. And then the coaching on that, that's sometimes a skill that's well shared within the team. If you maybe get mentor coaching from an engineering leader, maybe even a scrum master if there's one on your team, or others in the product organization if maybe started as a product owner, moved into product manager, if they have that type of structure. And then on the job application, if you're constantly delivering new features to market, it's a great opportunity to now start applying those skills. So I think we're going to take 5 minutes and people can kind of make their own path of training, coaching, and on the job application from the previous slide.
And if anyone needs us to put something up to look at while you're doing that, and since you may not have obviously don't have the template yet in your hot little hands. And then just a pre-warning, Diane, you'll be up next for how you're putting that into your growth plan, if that's all right with you.
I'm flexible.
I'm going to learn yoga from you one day. I gave up on trying to learn yoga from Jason. He just has a thing on his watch that says he's going to do yoga. And fun fact, I'm in a haver while you guys are doing
Oh,
this
I
for
feel
yourself.
that. I have all sorts of things that I'm going to do this every day. And then I don't.
Well, here's the fun fact, right? I think I've told you this story, Diane, but across how many meetings now, Jason, product camp, a decade or something, at least over the last several years, I've noticed his watch. You just glance at someone else's device and you see something, and it's not a big deal, but I kept saying it, tell him to do yoga. So I'm thinking he's like a grand high yogi or something. I was like, we started running together and I was like, hey, so we need to do yoga. It turns out he doesn't know how to do yoga. I don't think you've done it once. Have you done it once yet?
Nope.
Question.
No, I did it once. I did it once.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
But I get guilted about it every day
how many are me?
by the device.
There you go. Yeah, and you stayed at a Lakinda Inn, so you're also an expert at something.
So when do we start product yoga? Sorry, Holly. You wipe
Yep.
that coffee off your screen.
Right.
Perfect timing. That was awesome.
I say we start this Thursday, either before or after happy hour.
Happy hour would be, infused with yoga.
Or during. Ooh, I might
Which
spill
could
my
be
drink.
interesting if you've had at least 2 or 3 drinks.
Yeah, it loosens things up, right? Should be able to reach farther.
Hey, I've got a hot update for you guys. If you directly inject coffee into your brain, it's a good ride.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
If you don't like burning sensations, I don't recommend it. All right, so is everyone taking that minute, kind of have an idea of how this is laying out, thought of some activities that you would do? Diane, I'll look for you to give me a secret thumbs
Oh,
up when
sorry.
something, if you're,
I didn't
if
realize you
you're
were
good.
talking directly to me. So rephrase.
I was talking to everyone.
Okay. So rephrase again. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. So what I was asking is just to let me know when you've got, you did your scoring of yourself, right? So when you have a thought on, based on your score, what you would put into your growth plan here, just for this year. We're just doing the first half and second half of this year.
Yeah. I'd worked on the scoring. Let's see. What would I put in my plan? So, current role, senior product manager. My focus is so much on it's more about the place to work. I want a great place to work with a lot of support. But I would say, so I could go with principal product manager because I'm kind of on the fence of whether I want to go back into director or, the next step because I'm kind of pondering that. But let's say go just like this has for principal product manager. So I think that a lot of it would be certainly focusing on leadership skills and sort of the next level of where I am with some of the practices. I mean, I can always get better. I can always do more. It's like it's been a while since I've had an opportunity to work through design thinking sessions. So, practicing those and looking for more opportunities to do those because I really enjoy doing them. I like the interaction of it. And then I would say, the strengths I want to leverage would certainly be continuing to do team collaboration. There's a lot here that really fits me. But also, shoring up the areas that I know I'm weak in. Focusing on those skills, absolutely. And then I certainly would make sure that I do have metrics in here, right? Be able to set, how much of a percentage gain do I want to get? I'm going to do it by X date, make them smart and measurable so that I can be able to see where I am and give myself grace when I don't hit it and understand why, right? Is it because, I have that on my watch, but I didn't do it. Maybe there's something else hidden there that's like preventing me from doing it. Maybe I'm self-conscious about it, or maybe I'm, just not looking for those opportunities. And then certainly reaching out for a coach for sure. That's always helpful. I know there were several programs that were so helpful to me along the way where, you really spend time with others, like break the silos, right? Go spend time with support. And I don't get an opportunity to always do that. But pursuing to try to find those opportunities is really good. Same thing with sales, same thing with client success, same thing with like other teams, right? I think it helps not only build the relationships, but you learn something. And then that just goes in your skill bucket. Is that what you were looking for?
All right. wraps it up for the presentation part of the exercise.
Thanks
I
so
was
much for
able to
sharing
get up
that,
and chat
Diane.
and
Sorry, my
Oh, sure.
audio may have glitched a little bit, so I apologize for not saying that sooner. Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to talk over you.
That's right. That's the end of the presentation exercise. I wouldn't able to about with the chat. Are there questions that folks have?
Yeah, so kind of walk through that pretty quickly, but what did you guys think about that? For me, it was just very thought provoking, very timely. It especially when you're looking at trying to assess what's my next big adventure or where do I want to go from here. It's a good time to step back. We've been talking about that in this theme, right? Reflect, where am I really good? Where am I not? Right? Maybe no one's ever really told me. Everyone's just kind of nice about it. But what do I really need to work on? Like, oh yeah, you're a leader. Yeah, look at you. That's so cute over there, bunny rabbit. But what do I need to actually work on for where I want to be when I grow up? And then be able to put a plan around it. That's huge too. I think I've done a million self-assessments, right, over time, but then it's like, okay, you look at it and go, cool, but there's no, how do I get from where I am to where I want to be, right? What do I need to do that? So I like all of those pieces there.
Randy's got his hand raised.
Oh, fire away, Randy. I was gonna pick on Rob.
That's okay. I just, when I was looking at those questions, I thought about those and try to put them in the context of a conversation. And again, I know we've all been in those yearly assessments where, again, I don't know necessarily the purpose or tone was the same purpose or tone that is being presented today. Unfortunately, it's almost like, it's like a grab bag. You're like, what's going to come out of the bag? Is it a rabbit or or something more dangerous? But anyways, as I thought about those, I thought of two things is like, again, giving it more context, like around those things, saying back to, I think, as earlier, was we were talking about what's this mean to you? So do you do this? Well, what's this mean to you? So you have that common understanding of the definition. And then, can you give me an example? And I think the combination of those two questions could, give you a little more depth. And then again, you have some shared understanding. Very may well be that you have that ability. It's just like everything else. Your boss doesn't know what you did or how you did it. But again,
Really
you try
good
to,
points there,
you try to,
Randy. Oh, go
pardon
ahead.
me?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear the comment. Sorry. So
I think those are two really good points. One is alignment between you and your leader, right? When we talk about product discovery, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to me? So you're on the same page. And then second is just that then being able to talk about like, what does it mean to move to that? What do I need to do for that?
yeah. But yeah, I just thought about it. And there may be other questions, but again, digging deeper, and then again, as you go on,
Right.
not just answer that question, assuming you know what it means, and go on and create this plan, which it may be that no, there's still a gap, and you're spending time on something you really shouldn't or could have other things going on.
Right.
Kind of came up. That's just thoughts that came up to me.
I'm
I have an
glad you said
interesting
that.
question. There's always a lot of focus on, if you're not moving up, you're not moving. I mean, certainly you're wanting to continue to improve your skills and continue to improve yourself. But in some cases, people maybe feel forced to move up. But what if you want to just stay where you are, but just get really, really good at what you are? Do a lateral move. Like, I'm thinking, I always loved product ownership. I love product management, but, I would be open because it's a great sweet spot for me. And I also, there's still always something you can learn there. I've even thought about Scrum mastering because I've got certifications in it because I just love the whole craft of Agile. So I've learned all the different roles, and in some places I've actually used them. It's not, quote, the right thing to have a product person doing Scrum Master roles, but there's a lot of companies that they don't have one, and you end up splitting it between like the tech lead and yourself. Or in some cases, I've been in companies where they have junior Scrum Masters who are learning, and I ended up mentoring them. It was always a very much of a, okay, I'm putting my product hat on, guys. I'm taking my product hat off because to make it clear, this is not right. These are conflicting roles, but yet I'm going to try to help you out. So what is your thoughts there of that if you want to move laterally or you want to not necessarily move up and to not make it feel like, oh, this person is not wanting to grow. Of course you want to grow. You just like where you are a lot.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's a huge piece that I didn't have time to get into, but as you think about growing your skills and growing your domain knowledge, it's exactly that. So first off, it's, as a leader, what I do is kind of set the stage. Think of me as your guy. I got the map, I have all the equipment and the tools that you need to go on your journey, but you're setting the destination and you're setting the pace. And then the second part is what's nice about this framework is it allows you to add skills, but then add domain knowledge. So let's say you've been in a certain part of your product portfolio for 1, 2, 3 years, but you're kind of getting bored, you get down, you're ready for a new challenge. The idea is you can move to another part of the portfolio in the same role, and now start learning a new domain and a new part of the product. And you do that again. Now you've really now added value because you understand now instead of one part of the product portfolio, but multiple. And the value of the organization is that's where, like, in my perspective, a lot of the innovation comes because folks like you then can connect the dots between various products in the portfolio to think of very creative solutions to solve some of our customer problems that now can create a new product, a new revenue stream. Ooh, you're adding a lot of value. You know what? Let's move you from the senior product manager to principal. And then your compensation should go with that too, because you are your value now. And so you can kind of think about it as up, over, and then up, over, and up kind of thing, depending
Right,
on how large your organization is.
I love that. And I'm gonna jump in here and say I'm so glad you said that too, Diane, because that's another aspect. And certainly as someone, you and I both have led teams, right? And that's a real thing sometimes, whether it's yourself or it's a team member that doesn't actually want to move up or over, right? I totally appreciate your point, Eric, but sometimes it's not even like they want to do that, but it's like as humans, we and product people, we should never stop growing and learning. And I don't think that anyone's ever really been saying that when you have that awkward conversation at the end of the year, like we were talking about, right? And you're like, what do you want to grow? What do you want to do more? And then there's like, nothing. I like what I do. Nope.
right.
Nope. Don't want to do anything different. Nope. And that becomes really hard. And I've had to like really push and been on the side where I'm like, well, you gotta tell me something, because literally I get graded on filling out these boxes for you. So if you
Right.
don't give me something, I'm gonna put, well, Diane is gonna read To Kill a Mockingbird and adopt 2 more cats next year. Like I'm just gonna start putting all kinds of crazy stuff in here because we have to put something literally. But this
Yeah.
it shows your manager, right? I think if I was in my mind, I'm like, if I was had the team doing this, even those folks that weren't looking to even move into a new space and be a SME there or want to do that would have things they would want to do, like to your point, Diane, like some agile, really want to dive into this, want to understand the Scrum Master role so I can better partner with them. I want to do
Right.
this and that, and then they would have been able to ask me for things that I would have been able to give them and line up, using the company's resources or using training budget to buy more things for them, make sure that they're in product coffee, all the things, right? Instead of just, okay, so you're perfectly happy with where you are and everything you have in your life and you don't want anything to change. Okay. All right. See you next year.
Right. And that was, primarily my motivation when I had the opportunity to, get the certifications on the company's dime, right? They're expensive, is, I was finding that, sure, I understood the product owner role or the product manager role within that framework, but I actually, rather than taking just that slice, I wanted to understand the whole thing from the Scrum Master's perspective and how I fit into it, and how others fit into it, right? And then the same thing, when I took my my SAFe POPM certification, I went ahead and did the Scrum Master one too because it was getting paid for, and I thought, you know what? Why not? I like the whole big picture and then how I fit in it.
Yeah, I think it helps you be a better partner, right? If you know what the other side's
Yeah.
going through, that their perspective, it helps you understand what they need from you. I think in a way that you can try to obviously be very empathetic, and I think a lot of product people do a great job of that, but really understand it in a deeper way. So it's very cool that you did that.
I see Catherine had a question in the chat here. I agree with getting a company that's product led, strong support for career growth. That's what's lacking in my situation currently. What are your thoughts on sending out a questionnaire to peers to get feedback, like a self-branding survey? I've seen someone else do that who was a senior product manager. So it's a great idea. I think getting your leader on board with it first is key. So it doesn't seem like it's you're trying to self-fulfill something. But what you could do is, take that or some version of it and talk to your manager about, hey, I want to start taking some subjective things and make it more objective as I look at where I want to take my career, getting support and growth, and almost like introduce it, get them on board, and then hopefully they'll support it, and then maybe you and that person done it together as a first round, and then maybe at the end of the quarter or halfway through the year, you introduce a peer feedback loop. Okay.
Hey,
Gavin, I
yeah,
know.
thanks. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. And I don't know if you can hear me now, but I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I joined late, but a lot of times where I'm at now as a director of product management, it's always been like get it done yesterday and massive projects. And it's kind of like, on the job training, OJT, like on steroids. And so I think that this format would be really cool to go back and really reflect on where, you're just flying by the seat of your pants versus, okay, what do I really should I really upskill in to make me a better product manager? So this is really cool. Thank you guys.
So glad it was something good for you. That's the real name of the game. It's always good for me.
I was only able to get part with you to chat with other questions that surfaced in there that should.
And if they don't come to you now, if like me, you're going to step away and like I'm going to actually for realsies do the assessment. And then I'm sure I'm going to have 500 questions. So Eric's going to really regret the fact that I have his cell phone number. But if you don't have Eric's cell phone number, don't try to look it up on the internet. I'm sure it has it. But instead, you can put sure Eric, you're in our product coffee Slack, and you can ask Eric there. So better format.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for the time. Hopefully you got something out of it.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And Eric, if you will share whatever your final cut of those are that you would like us to publish, we'll make sure they're on that fun resources page that Jason was talking about. They'll be super awesome.
It was a great
Thank you all.
session today.
Thank you so much, Eric, for coming to do this.
That was fun.
Excellent. So we will see you all back here next week, where we will go through the results of our AI and product management initial survey, AI interests in product management, kind of talk about what people told us they wanted to hear about and what we're doing with that information. And we look forward to seeing you all next week.